Hello and welcome back to my YouTube channel. So we'll continue with the August 2025 mock paper. So today I'll do a question 23 and I'll read the question straight away. Coyote Limited manufactures a single product Q. The standard selling price and variable cost per unit of product Q are as follows. Yeah, we have the selling price, materials, labor, then add additional information. The budgeted sales for the month of November 2024 were 38,000 units. So let me capture the units here. 38,000 units. The actual results for the month of November 2024 was as follows. Production and sales, 36,000 units. Yeah, so that one I won't indicate because it's already there. So this 36,000 units. No, let me correct that. Units. Yeah, so I'll post it here. Love it here. 36,000. And selling price per unit was 34. We have materials, 76,000 kilograms. So let me use that. We'll also use it. Then the amount was 754,000. 754,000. Then labor, we have 114,000 hours. Yeah. Let me capture it there. Then shillings is love 2656,000. Yeah, that way. Yeah, the company operates a standard costing system and a just-in-time purchasing and production system. So required showing applicable variances, prepare a statement that reconciles the budgeted contribution with the actual contribution for the month of November 2024. Yeah, and the mark is 20 marks. So what we are going to do, for you to reconcile, we have to prepare a budget. We'll prepare a budget where we'll have the original budget. First, the flexible budget. We'll flex the budget. Then the actual budget here. So that we'll be able to get the profit, so that you can reconcile the profit from budgeted to actual. Yeah. So we can only do the reconciliation once you have done the statement of profit or loss. Yeah. So straight away, I'll do it here. So the first we'll have the original budget. Then let me leave this space for, yeah, let me start here, the original budget. Yeah, then we will flex this budget. We'll flex the original budget. And we are supposed to have the flexible budget here. Sorry for that. Yeah, so let me increase the size of this column. Then we'll have the actual. We'll have the actual. Yeah, so you have to prepare the statement of profit or loss before you can reconcile. Yeah, so we'll have that as actual budget. Good. So we continue. So once you have that arrangement, you can create a bottom border. So yeah, because you have budget, the shillings were they in thousands? No. So we are not going to do that thousands. So we are going to start by the number of units. We are going to start by the number of units. As we come here and say units. Yeah, what was the unit on the original budget? Yeah, so we are told that the budgeted sales for the month of November 2024 were 38,000 units. Yeah, so that's what you'll select here. You pick that. Then we'll jump flexible. because we have to flex it from the original budget. So actual, what is the number of units for actual? We are told that the number 2, the actual results for the month of November 2024 was follows. Production and sales in units was 36,000. So we take that 36,000. Yeah. Then the flexible budget, we will use the units for the actual budget. Yeah, it always use the units for the actual. Yeah, so just come back, copy that there, then you enter. Yeah, so we have units. So what follows is the sales. Yeah, so the sales is what will follow. So sales here. So what is the selling price per unit under the original budget? That's what we have to ask ourselves. So the selling price per unit under the budgeted, it's up here. Selling price was 136. So you take that 136, multiply by the number of units produced and sold under original budget. So it will give us that value there. Then the same we'll do to flexible. The same we'll do to flexible. But you see, flexible, we don't have a selling price. We'll flex the budget. Yeah, so let me go to actual, then we come back to flexible. So actual, the number of units was this. You multiply by what? By the actual selling price. Yeah, so we told that number 2, the actual results for the month of November 2024 were as follows. So we go straight away and check out the selling price per unit. So selling price per unit was shillings 34. Yes, I'll multiply that with 34. Yeah, to get my actual sales under the actual budget. Then you ask yourself, now what happened to flexible budget? So we are going to calculate what we call the flex factor. Yes, you come here and say flex factor. So how do you calculate flex factor? So flex factor or the flex ratio, you can you calculate it this way. You say equals to, you take the number of units for the actual budget, like in this case 36,000, you divide by the units for the original budget. So you divide by 38,000. Yeah, so once you get this value is what we are going to use to flex the budget. So from sales, we'll use this value over here to flex. Okay. Yeah, so you come here and say equals to, the flex factor is this, then you multiply by what? You flex the original budget. Yeah, so you take the flex factor, you multiply by them sales under original budget. Yeah, for you to get sales under flexible budget. So you'll get that value is 489 6,000. Yeah. So once you are done with that, that's how you flex. Yeah. So once you are done with that, we are going to production and costs. Yeah. So the production costs, let me just say production costs. So I'll bold it. Then create a bottom border. Yeah, so this will be guided. Which cost did we add? Yeah, so we had material and labor. So I'll start with the direct material. Yeah, so I'll start with the original budget. So original budget, we're told that the materials were shillings 20. You can see here. Yeah, so we take that 20 times the number of units under original. So you just come here. Under direct material, take 20 times the number of units. And that number of units 38. Yes, we'll have that as the direct material. For the original budget, we continue. So I'll also do for direct labor, yeah, and original first. Direct labor. Yeah, so what was the direct labor? Yeah, so this will still be based on number of units. So you take the number of units, which is 38,000. You multiply by labor rate. You can see labor 3 hours at 24 per hour. The total was 72. So you multiply by 72. You enter. Yeah, so there's no any other item. Yeah, there was no fixed cost. There were no overheads. Yeah, so you leave it at that point because you work with what you are given. Yeah, so I'll jump the flex, then I go to original. So what was the original for direct material cost for the actual budget? So you just come here. You're told that production and sales is okay. Unit selling price okay. Materials, the amount was how much? 754,000. So that's what you capture under actual. Okay. Yeah. So actual you're given the cost. You just select that. Mhm. Then you also do the same for what is it for labor? Yeah, labor is that value there. Yeah. So you are done. Direct labor is this. Direct labor is this. So when it comes to flexible budget, we are going to flex the values for what? For the original budget. So what I will do, you see here, we multiply the flex factor by what? By the cells. Yeah. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to lock this flex factor. This flex factor falls under, is it the C22 or G16? Let me click that. Yeah, it's G16. So I'm going to lock that cell here, the G16 completely, so that I can be able to drag. Yeah, and you save on time. So I'll lock the cell completely, then I enter. So once I'm done with that, just drag that way. Yeah, so here there was no value, so just delete that 0. But these values are okay, yeah, because we have locked it. Yeah, so we have flexed the budget. Yeah, so that's the key thing. You learn how to flex. And I've said you look at the flex factor, you take the actual number of units, divide by the budgeted number of units. So once you get the flex factor, you lock it and you'll be able to get sales and any other production cost. Yeah, so at that point now, we will say what is our profit or loss. Profit stroke loss. So how do you do it? You always take sales, you subtract costs. Yeah, so to subtract that, you also subtract that, you enter. So once you enter, at that point you just drag, you drag, those other values will appear automatically. Yeah, so we'll have this statement of profit or loss, and you realize that actual budget, we had a loss. Yeah, so allow me to highlight that bold. Then I'll create a top border, yeah, to make it looks nice. Yeah, so you can only reconcile when you have this statement. Yeah, so what we are going to reconcile is this. We start with the original budget, which is 167. That value there. Yeah. Then we'll have to get back to the actual profit. Yeah. So we'll start with the budgeted profit, and you get back to this, and the variances. You have to show applicable variances. Yeah. So we are going to reconcile. Yeah, so you can only do reconciliation when you have done the profit or loss account statement. So reconciliation of budgeted to actual what? Actual profit. So I'll highlight this, then I bold. Yeah, so you start with the budgeted profit. So what was the budgeted profit? And here you have to be very keen. Yeah. So our budgeted profit, you just pick it here if you have calculated correctly. Yeah, then now we are going to look at the variances. So the variance we are going to, how are we going to get these variances? So go to the statement, you realize that we have sales. Yeah, so because we have sales, now we look at the first one, variance, which is called sales price variance. So just come here and say sales price variance. Yeah. So by indicating that sales price variance, you have already shown that there's a variance. Yeah, so what is the formula for the sales price variance? So this is the formula. So the formula for the sales price variance equals to, I think, uh, let me undo this. No, it's okay. So this is the formula. Sales price variance equals to. So I'll say equals to. Then bracket. You take the actual price. Yeah. So actual price was how much? Yeah. So the actual selling price. This one. We are told selling price was shillings 34 per unit. Yeah. So that's the actual. Uh-huh. So we sold at 34, but we subtract the budgeted price. So what was the budgeted price per unit? Yeah. Remember this per unit. Yeah, so selling price, which was budgeted for, was 136. Yeah, so at that point, I want you to note something. Yeah, they budgeted for 136 shillings, but sold an item. The actual, they sold it at 34. Yeah, so as a salesman or as a salesperson, that's an adverse variance. Yeah, because you budgeted to sell at 136, but you're now selling at 34. Yeah, so automatically that's an adverse variance. Yeah, so you just close the bracket, then you multiply by the actual quantity sold. Yeah, so what were the units sold? The actual. So you're told that production and sales was 36,000 units. Yeah, so you multiply by that 36. Yeah, then you enter. So once you enter, you'll get that value. It's negative, it's adverse because, yeah, you just read on that way. We budgeted for 136 per unit, but we are now selling at 34 the actual. Yeah, that's adverse. Yeah, so the sales price variance, that was adverse. Yeah, so what you can do, you come here and say, yeah, you can write adverse, necessary, uh, yeah, just say adverse. Yeah, say adverse there. Yeah, we continue. Then we go to the next item. So the other one will be the sales volume variance. Yeah, sales volume variance. Yeah, we're still on sales. Yeah, so come here and say equals to, what is the formula for the sales volume variance? So formula is always equals to budgeted quantity minus actual quantity, then you multiply by the budgeted contribution. Yeah, so what I'm going to do, I'm going to look at the budgeted contribution first. Yeah, we know that contribution is selling price minus what? Minus variable cost per unit. Yeah, so in this case, we have the budgeted. Yeah, what was budgeted? These are the values that were budgeted. So the budget for a selling price of 136. Then for me to get the contribution, I'll subtract the material and I'll also subtract what? The labor, because those are the variable cost. Yeah, so it means that my budgeted contribution is 44. Yeah, so therefore we'll go to the formula for sales variance. We say that it is budgeted quantity minus actual quantity. So what was the budgeted quantity? Yeah, so what was budgeted for quantity was 38,000. Those are the volumes that they wanted to do what? They budgeted to sell 38,000, but the actual, the one that now they sold was 36 units under the actual. This one, yeah. So subtract the 36,000, then you multiply by what? Budgeted what? Contribution, which was 44. Yeah. So you can see before I enter, you can see this is how we reason. You don't just pick the formula. These are sales volume variance. Yeah. So as a businessman, if you budgeted for 30,000 and you end up selling 36,000, the low of what you budgeted for. So that's an adverse variance. Yeah, like you see, if I enter this way, it will give me a positive figure. No, this one is not supposed to give you a positive figure. It should be negative because what you are comparing, let me do it again, equals to, we have said that it is budgeted quantity. We budgeted to sell 38,000. You subtract the actual quantity. Actual quantity of what we sold only 36. Instead of 38, we sold 36. So that's automatically is an adverse. It's negative. Then you multiply by the formula, you multiply by the budgeted contribution. Yeah. So this value, I'll introduce a negative here. Yeah, because it's an adverse variance because you budgeted for 38, then you sold 36. So don't enter the values positive. Yeah, you reason. Yeah, so you'll have negative 88, and that is what adverse. Yeah, so you can decide and write the adverse. But even if you don't write there, I'll give you the full marks. Huh? Yeah, because you know what you are doing by just getting negative 88,000. You know what you are doing. Okay, so sales, we can only do two, sales price and sales volume variance. So we go to another item, which is direct material. Yeah, so we'll start with what we call the material price variance. Material price variance. And what is the formula for the material price variance? So the formula is always the standard price minus actual price. Then you divide by actual quantity of material, multiply, sorry. Yeah, so we'll say equals to bracket material price variance, standard price. Yeah, so what was the standard price of material? That's per kg. Per kg. So what was the standard price per kg? Yeah, material will come here. This is the standard. So we have material 2 kilograms at shillings 10 per kilogram. Yeah, so that 10, let me just delete. Yeah, I'll put that 10 here because that's the standard price. Yeah, so the standard price was 10. So I'll go back to the formula and say equals to bracket the material price variance. This is the formula, standard price minus actual price. So what is my standard price here? Yeah, so sorry, let me delete this. Yeah, so first we have to get the standard price per kg, which already it's here. We are told that 2 kilograms at shillings 10 per kg. Yeah, so 10 is the standard price. So what about actual price of the material? So you come here, material told that we use 76,000 kilograms, and each was how much? And the total was 754,000. Yeah, so at that point, you can be able to get what we call the actual price. Yeah, per kg. Yeah, so we had sorry. I'm supposed to do it here. Yeah, so the actual price per kg will be 754 divided by what? 76,000 kilograms. Yeah, so that you get the actual price per kg. Yeah, so you come back to the formula and you say equals to bracket the standard price. It was 10 here. You subtract. Yeah, so it means that we budgeted with 10, but now the actual is now 9.92. Yeah, so you subtract that actual, which is 9.92, actual price per kg. Then you multiply both the actual quantity of material used. Yeah, so the actual quantity of material used. So actually, the actual quantity used was 76,000. Yeah, so multiply that with 76,000. So you see, we budgeted for 10, but we end up spending how much? 9.9. Yeah, so that's favorable. Okay, that's favorable. So your argument has to be within this. Yeah, because you see, this material we are buying, these are cost. Yeah, so originally you budgeted for cost of 10, but you end up buying it less at 9 shillings. So that means that that's a positive. Yeah, that's positive for you as a businessman. Yeah, so once you do that, you just enter. So you'll have 6,000. Yeah, that 6,000 is positive. And I've explained why it's positive. I didn't change it to negative. So this is favorable. Yeah, you'll note there that favorable. Yeah, then the same on material, we go to material usage variance. Material usage variance. Yeah, so the key thing is the formula again. Yeah, so what's the formula? So the formula for the material usage variance is standard quantity minus actual quantity. Then you multiply all of that by the standard price. Yeah, so what is the standard quantity? That's where we always have a challenge with students. So you'll pay attention. Yeah, so my standard, they'll say that standard what? Standard quantity. Yeah, so here you will reason this way. It's standard in actual. Yeah, let me just delete this and explain. It's standard in actual. Therefore, you reason 1 unit will require how many kgs of material. Yeah, in this case, you have materials under standard 2 kilograms at shillings 10 per kilogram. So it means that a unit will need how many? 2 kilograms. So you say if one unit required required 2 kilograms, then yeah, because what they want is the standard quantity. So what about the actual? So the actual number of units produced were 36,000. So this is what you say. Understood reason. It's actual in sorry standard in actual. So say 1 unit. Sorry, you reason this way. 1 unit. You need how many kgs? You need 2 kgs, 2 kilograms of material. Yeah, based on this information here, materials 2 kilograms at shillings 10 per kilogram. Yeah. So you ask yourself, what about how many kilograms will you need for the actual, which is now we are told production and sales, the units are how much? 36,000. So you ask yourself now, what about 36,000? So you take 36,000, you multiply by 2. Sorry, this was 2 kg. Yeah, so we know it's kg, so just take 36 number of units times what? Times 2. Yeah, that will give you 72,000. So this 72,000 is what we call the standard quantity. Sawa sawa? Yeah, so at that point now you can be able to do your works here. So you say equals to the formula, I'll repeat again, is the standard quantity minus actual quantity. So we start with the standard quantity. So already we have the standard quantity. That's the analysis that we have done here. So 72 minus the actual quantity. Actual quantity we are given. Yeah, actually we used how much? 76,000. It's here, 76,000 kilograms. That's what we use. So you subtract. Yeah, so you budgeted for 72, but you end up spending what? 76. Yeah, this material, these are cost. So what does that tells you? It tells you that this will be an adverse. Yeah, it will be negative. And because now what we budgeted for was more than what we actually used, then you don't have to introduce a negative sign. Yeah, you just multiply that by, they say by standard price. Yeah, you might always multiply by standard price. So what is our standard price? Of material. Yeah, no, don't go to selling price of material. Yeah, so our standard price for material is this one, 10. Yeah, we had it here times 10. Then you enter. So once you enter, you get negative 40,000, and that is adverse. Just equals to. Then you adverse it. Then we are done with material. So you go back to the statement. Material done. So we go to labor. So we look at the variances under labor. So we'll start with labor rate variance. So labor rate variance, we will look at the formula for the labor rate variance. So the formula is the standard rate minus actual rate. Then you multiply by actual hours. Yeah. So we say equals to bracket. So what is this standard rate? Yeah, we are now on labor. So let me delete this. So I'm supposed to get the standard rate for labor first. Standard rate for labor. Yeah, so you come here. What we have labor, it was 3 hours at shillings 24 per hour. Yeah, so what we need is the rate, the shillings. So we'll have 24. That's our standard rate for labor. Then actual, we come to actual. We're told that labor was on 14,000 hours. Then the amount is this amount here. Yeah, so where will you get the actual? So the actual, just pick this value. The total for labor and actual, you divide by the number of hours. Yeah, because we are told that shillings 24 was per hour on the budget. And you can see we have 23.229 as the actual rate. So we go back and apply the formula for the labor rate variance. Come and say equals to bracket the standard rate, which means that rate per hour. So the rate per hour we are given here, it was 24. That's the standard rate. Then you subtract. We budgeted for 24, but the actual was 26. 3. Yes, you see that's favorable. You can see that's favorable. We budgeted to use labor of 24 shillings, but we use 23 point something. So that's favorable. Then you multiply by what? You multiply by the actual hours. So what was the actual hours? Actual hours are these hours, 114,000. So that's the actual hours. So it makes your work easier. Where's that 114? Yeah, so just multiply, click that and enter. So once you enter, you can see 88,000 and it's positive. Yeah, so that's favorable. So you can say here favorable. Then we go to the next variance, which is the labor efficiency variance. Yeah, labor efficiency variance. Yeah, so the formula again we see formula for the labor efficiency variance is standard hours minus actual hours. Then you multiply by all of that with the standard rate. So what we're going to do, we're going to calculate this standard hours. Yeah, so you go back and say we are on labor. We're told that you need 3 hours at shillings 24 per hour. So you ask yourself, this actual. So you ask yourself, 1 unit will require how many hours? So here you can see 3 hours at shillings 24 per hour. So it means that 1 unit will require how many hours? 3 hours. Yeah, come and say 1 unit will require 3 hours. Yeah, then you ask yourself, what about the actual number of units? Yes, the actual number of units, so it was 36,000. So you ask yourself, what of 36,000 units? How many hours will they require? Simple as that. Therefore, you come here and calculate. Say 36 times 3. Yeah, 36 times 3. Yes, the number of hours under the standard was 108,000. And the number of hours for actual was 114. So you come and apply the formula. Here we say equals to our standard hours, which is 108,000. You subtract the actual hours. Actual hours is 114. That one you are always given. You subtract that. Yeah, we budgeted for 108, but we did what? We spend 114,000 hours instead of 108,000 hours. So you can see that's automatically it's an adverse. Then you multiply by what? You multiply by the standard hours, the standard rate. Yeah, the standard rate. So what is my standard rate? Yeah, so what was the standard rate? You go back here. Labor. 3 hours at shillings. Yeah, so it's standard hours minus actual hours times the standard rate. Yeah, so the standard rate is under labor efficiency. So our standard rate will be, it's the rate that we use up here. 24, yeah, that 24. That's the standard rate. Then you enter. Yeah, so once you enter, it will give you a negative of that 144. Yeah, it's adverse because you see, labor efficiency variance, you take the standard hours minus actual. So the standard, whenever they are less than actual, then that's automatically qualifies it as an adverse variance. So you just come here and say adverse. Yeah, so under production, direct labor, there were no other items here. Yeah, and I told you that you use these items under production cost to come with the variances. So at that point, there's no adjustment you can do. Yeah, so the reconciliation, what we are doing is that once I sum up all this, it should take me back to a loss of negative 218,600. So that's proof that you are right. Once you move, because we are moving from here to here. Yeah, how comes we had an original budget of 167 positive and we move now to actual, which is now negative? That's a loss. So what we are going to do, I'll highlight all that. I'll sum that. Then you go to auto sum. Then you enter. Yeah, so when I enter, you can see I've reconciled the same amount which was here. It's also here. And you can only do this by showing the variances. Yeah, so we arrive at a loss of negative 218,600. 6,000. So that's how you're supposed to tackle this question. That's how you are supposed to tackle this question, and you get your 20 marks. So thank you so much for watching. And if you are here for the first time, you take a minute and subscribe to my channel. Let's get to 1,000 subscribers in the next 30 days. Thank you so much, and have a blessed evening, morning, or afternoon, wherever you are.